men, they go through a different upbringing. And in the past, it was like, don't show your emotions, stop crying, don't do this, don't do that. And I could see, especially for males or husbands that are raised in an all-male environment with no sisters, they don't really see the emotions that women go through. So all of a sudden, they're in a relationship and they're like, what is this? This is uncomfortable. No. Ooh, that's better, right, babe?
Yeah. She founded an architectural concrete company.
He founded a $100 million clothing company.
She took the world by storm as a social media star.
He took the world by storm as a famous serial entrepreneur.
Together we started a business.
And had babies.
Now we're figuring out the best ways to do both.
Join us as we learn from other entrepreneurs going through the same life struggles.
As they share their life hacks about success, love, kids,
and everything in between.
A great marriage is born the moment when a husband and wife decide to stop fighting against each other and start fighting for each other. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. Psalm of Solomon 6:3.
Welcome to the Pretty and Punk Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Caldwell, and I'm here with my beautiful wife, Ildiko Ferenczi. And we have another great podcast for you guys. It's not because we've been fighting or anything like that. We actually, everything's been great. We haven't had a fight in a while, so it's. But
we bump heads, but I just let you win.
We bump heads all the time.
I'm exhausted. I'm tired. Before we had kids, I think it was different. I would really go in the ring and fight, but sometimes I just let you win.
Because I'm worried because I have to worry about you can kick me in the head. You've done it before. not because you're mad, but you just wanted to prove a point, I think. But we wanted to come up with some.
You would say you're the kickboxer champion. I said, look what I could do. I had to take fighting classes for acting.
Definitely not a kickboxer champion. Kickboxing's not my thing for sure.
I had the coach that I think he coached, what was her name? Buffy the Vampire Slayer or something. I've never watched that show, but he coached her.
I wouldn't be too proud. I wouldn't put that out there too much.
I don't even know what it is, but that was one of it. And he'd coached Smallville, but he was.
I know you used to send me videos of yourself kickboxing.
Because he said if you learn some fancy steps, then it'll help you with the movie. They like fancy stuff in the movies. Anyway. We are talking about fighting, but fighting in
marriage. So rules of engagement in marriage. We built some rules around because we both have the problem is probably the.
Wait, do you want to?
Well, yeah. Before we jump into that. Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying today's episode of the Pretty and Punk Podcast. And if you are, and you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. It just takes a second. It means so much to us because it really helps the podcast get out there to more listeners like you guys. And if you know anybody it might help and you can send it to them, we really appreciate that too.
We also love and appreciate your reviews. Even the babies look forward to them every day. If you share this episode on social media today, don't forget to tag us. We want to celebrate you because we know it's not easy being a parent in business. And the way that you juggle things makes you a superhero. That's worth a shout out. Together, we have a community of our personal followers as well. And we just want to put it out there. We want to show everybody that this juggle is possible. And you are our family, and we're so proud and grateful to have you a part of this family. So don't forget, all the links are below in the show notes. And thank you again, and let's get back to the show.
Rules around fighting in the marriage.
Well, thank goodness you didn't use your military term.
Rules of engagement in the marriage. That's what I wanted to go with.
But I didn't understand it, and then he had to explain it to me after.
As a former police officer,
I get it.
It's how we speak.
I really like this topic because it's important, not only for us as husband and wife, mother and father, but if we don't do this properly, we got little eyes watching us.
Yeah. So these things are the things that we came up with. We slowly came up with. It's not like one day we sat down and we said, here's 5 rules that we're going to come up with. It was something that like developed over time, and trying to work things out because it is hard because we're a lot alike in a lot of ways. And so we tend to butt heads sometimes because we both have strong personalities. We're both, business owners, entrepreneurs, heads of our companies, and it somehow carries over into a relationship. Now, if you run your relationship like you run your business, it's going to fail. It's not going to do well.
No.
So we had to figure out rules based around a healthy argument at home.
Because we have a difference of opinion. Follow. And sometimes it changes. Sometimes we add more, sometimes less. But we just chose 5. We decided to share 5 step with... I can't speak today.
Yeah. Okay. It's that coffee you're drinking.
I'm not drinking coffee. It's green tea, but it still has a little bit of caffeine. Number 1, never say the word divorce.
Never. I mean, we just don't. I mean, I don't think
the D word.
I had always made a commitment to myself that I would never get divorced. If I got married, it was going to be the last time. So you're going to have to throw me
Kids
off the side of a
listening.
building or something. Like I'm not leaving.
Well, we got to focus on the solutions and working through the challenges together. And we always have to remember that we are a team, that it's not me winning or you winning. It's us finding the solution together. And for me, because of, I guess this is just an uncomfortable thing to acknowledge for myself as a child of divorce and having my father have left. And I remember it so vividly. And he said he'd be back, but he never came back. Wow. Sheesh.
So
I didn't expect to get emotional.
I know this is something that really affects you because every time it's a conversation, you get emotional.
Right. So for me, when in the infant stages of our relationship, and if Dan would get frustrated like many men, if they leave the home or wherever the environment is, it would bring back that trauma of thinking that he's not going to come back. And that was never the case, but that was my own trauma that I had to deal with. So for us, it's just, we decided that he would be very clear that I just need to take a minute and I need to go away. But he used to sometimes leave for a day. And that was emotionally very hard for me. So if you could find that, because everybody has different triggers, everybody has different traumas, and we had to, discover that together. For me, that's really traumatic. And also, once you have kids, they don't know if you're going for good or coming back. So it's almost better to just walk away, go to the other room. Or if you're okay with them leaving for a day or a few hours. But for me, it's very important to go to sleep with everything being resolved. So not only not throwing the D word around, but for me, it triggers a lot when someone walks out on me and nothing's resolved. And I understand you need to take a moment, or I may need to take a moment. I think women don't really need those moments. It's more of a husband thing, a man thing,
yeah.
where they need to take that.
I didn't know how much that affected you. Like for me, I was trying to handle the disagreement the best I could, and how I handle it.
So you just didn't want to fight.
I didn't want to fight.
So you just leave it.
I was like, I have to go. I'll be back, but I have to go. I can't.
Well, you wouldn't
deal with
even
this
say
right
that.
now.
You would sometimes just walk. This is way before. This is when we were
without kids.
Without kids. And that I just couldn't understand, why is this so hard? Why is this so triggering? And I had to do my personal work and remember that moment when I think my parents got into. I was very young, maybe 3 or 4. No, 3 or 4. But I do remember that there was police lights flashing, and my dad walked out, and I remember screaming his name. Don't go, don't go. And
I could see how that could be triggering to that
he never came
memory.
back.
And if I would have known that, it's like if we would have done that work earlier, I would have never done that. I would have never done that because I that wasn't the purpose of it. I was like, I knew myself that I knew whatever we were arguing about stupid stuff that didn't matter, that we don't even remember at this point.
Yeah, really don't remember.
But it was just, I knew myself. I knew if I left for an hour or two, I would come back and it'd be like it never happened. I'd be like, whatever you want.
And then for me,
that was
like
that's what
torture,
you need, that's fine.
Because I was like, we didn't resolve this. But I
But
think
it was my way of resolving it.
Right. But that was like, we need to talk about this. We need to figure it out. I just need to know that I'm loved, that I'm worth it, all the,
I needed
women
to fight
need to
for
be
us. I needed to
seen,
fight for us.
heard,
And I
loved.
should have, and you know what? The truth is, I needed to fight for it more. I needed to fight for our relationship at that time. We could have easily ended up, not good. But I just knew myself. I knew that if I left for 2 hours and I came back, I wouldn't even care. Like you win, whatever you want. It's fine.
Right.
Like
I don't want to win.
I just know in that moment I was feeling like I needed to win for whatever reason.
Well, and also men, they go through a different upbringing. And in the past, it was like, don't show your emotions, stop crying, don't do this, don't do that. And I could see, especially for males or husbands that are raised in an all-male environment with no sisters, they don't really see the emotions that women go through. So all of a sudden they're in a relationship and they're like, what is this? This is uncomfortable. She's going through these things that I don't even understand. I just got to get out of here. So I now, in this place in my life, I understand that too, but I also understand my triggers. And for me, and for many women out there, I know that it's very important for them to resolve things and just to feel heard and understood. And it's not necessarily about winning. I don't want to win, but I definitely want to make sure that it's resolved, especially before going to bed, because that's like torture. A woman's mind, the wheels will turn and turn and turn. It's like, why doesn't he just hold me? Why doesn't he just tell me that we can work this out together? Why can't it just be resolved so we can live our very best life?
Yeah.
So step 1, never say the
never
D
use
word.
the word divorce. I know we got a little bit off track, but that actually brings us to our next one is remind each other you're on the same team. And this is where, and I should have actually, it should be a part of this. This is where I'll tell you the most uncomfortable thing to do when you're in a disagreement or an argument is to hold each other or to hold each other's hand. And this is something that I learned, and it took some wisdom and it took some time and maybe some growth in myself. But what we do now, or if we're in a disagreement and it starts to get sideways, is I just hold Ildiko's hand and I said, we're on the same team. And I just, as long as I'm holding, it's hard to fight and be mad at somebody when you're
physically holding
when you're
them.
holding each other, especially, if you're embracing each other or hugging each other, really hard to fight. And I remember hearing somebody's solution to kids fighting is making their restriction was to go stand in the corner and hug each other until they're, for an hour or something. It's like really hard to be mad at somebody or whatever it was, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. But but I just think the same works for adults. And that's kind of where we came up with the concept of just holding each other and just reminding each other, physically saying this out loud to each other. We're on the same team. We're trying to, because many times you're fighting over something
and you forget in the heat of the moment.
You're both going the same direction.
Right.
It's like you're both racing the same direction and you forget exactly whatever you were going to say. You forget in the moment. In the heat of the moment.
You forget. You're trying to win for what? We're on the same team. We're married. We have a dream together. That's what we're fighting for. We have a goal. We have many goals together. That's what we're fighting for.
And like when you see two basketball players are, and they're on the same team and they're arguing on the court, it's like, that's not how you win a game.
No.
You want to win a game, you play as team players.
Right. And just remember, if I lose, you actually lost too. Or if you lose,
absolutely,
I actually lost too. I really like that about Daniel's Elon Musk course that he's taking, the school that he's taking, is because they keep reminding each other that, I think Daniel said, I won. And he had to be reminded, well, if one of us loses, we all lose. And if one of us wins, we all win. So we have to look at it in the positive light. And I really like that mindset. And I like that mindset for us because it just reminds me, well, if I won, we didn't win. We have to both win together.
Absolutely. You don't win unless we both win. And that's why hold your partner's hand.
Yeah.
And whoever it is, it's going to be like Ildiko and I we both have done this, where we want to kind of pull away. You're in the heat of the moment. I wanted to use your name too. I can't use your name, and am I going to be the lone?
I remember in the beginning, though, I tried to touch you.
Yeah,
you were like
I'm so mad.
Toddler.
I'm so mad. I'm a toddler, total toddler.
That was awesome.
But I'm just you want to pull away. I can't use your name. You're not going to let me use your name. I'm the lone goose standing out on the pedestal here on the edge of the building.
But
okay, yes, me.
Even when you're, not just when you're fighting, but I remember this when I was a child and we were going through grief. My brother died very suddenly. And I remember sometimes my mom would just hold me. She would hug me. She knew that I was going through stuff, and Daniel's going through this. The other day, he did his speech in front of 1,000 people, and after he got really emotional, and he drew a picture of Grandma's face on a balloon, and he was really sad and crying in the bathroom. I mean, we all go through grief, but I just remember this thing that my mom used to do. She used to come in, and she would just hug me and hold me, and she said, if you hug someone over a minute, over 30 minutes, 30 seconds to a minute, you give them your strong energy and your love, and it lifts them up. So I did that with Daniel. And I really feel that helps us when we're fighting or if one of us is down. It literally, you cannot help but to feel lifted when you have someone's physical. We have this blessing inside of us, this energy, this love that God has blessed us with. So use that as a tool.
Absolutely. That's something that's so powerful. And if you guys are in this situation, try it. I promise you'll watch an immediate effect happen. Like you guys are in this disagreement or argument and the voices are starting to get a little louder. And if somebody just takes the initiative and the courage to hold each other.
I know you don't want to, but do it anyway.
Grab their hand and say, just look in their eye or hold them. That's a little harder to do. I'm giving you the easy move. Baby steps. Hold and look right in their eye and say, we're on the same team, and don't let go. And I encourage your partner to try to not pull away. And if you guys do that, I promise you it'll change the whole dynamic of the situation. And That brings us to the third one.
The third one, do not raise your voice. And
Try
that
not to
takes
raise
a
your voice.
lot of self-control,
It does.
self-discipline, but take it like a challenge and try to be the leader in that.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't even realize that you're raising. I'm really bad at this. I'll just say I'm not good at this. That you don't even realize you're raising your voice. You don't mean to. It just, you're in this conversation and your voice gets, one person's voice gets a little bit louder and the other person's voice gets a little bit louder, and then you get a little bit louder and you just want to be heard, but you find yourself raising your voice, and it's just, that is how an argument gets out of control, because you're each really innocently just trying to get your point across.
You want to be heard.
And want to be heard.
One speaks louder and then louder and overlapping. And you just want to be heard. You just want to be, what is the word? Acknowledged. You want to get your point acknowledged. Now, that's the important thing, to acknowledge them. Right, wrong, indifferent. You just want to make sure that you acknowledged their point and what they're trying to get across.
And it's especially dangerous when you have little ones in the house, or, teenagers, whatever it is. You just do. Remember, they're learning how to be parents right now. They're in training. And so when they're watching you guys go through this.
You're escalating the situation. Yeah. You need to really work on your communication skills. Communication without, we've all seen those people in business that come in, they just lose their mind.
That's me.
No, you don't do that.
No, but
you've never done that really with
true.
your employees. But we've seen people that lose their cool, it's like,
absolutely.
Learning how to communicate at a young age. If you just choose the right words, you're going to get your point across much better and more powerfully than if you yell.
And a side note too, if you do this in front of your kids, it will show them how to communicate with effectively with each other. Let them see you have a disagreement. Let them know that a disagreement can be figured out, can be resolved by conversation.
Right. And you can stay calm, express your thoughts respectfully, and create a safe space for open dialogue. Open the dialogue. And that just leads to juicy, wonderful, valuable conversations. And you can talk through the problem and you come up with a solution together. And if they see that, nothing's more valuable for their business experience and their future marriage and relationships with friends.
Absolutely. Remember, they're learning. They're learning through you. You are teaching them how to be parents in the future.
And how to communicate.
Put yourself in their shoes.
That's number 4. Yes.
Put yourself in their shoes. I can't think of something more, a stronger way to help yourself figure out the argument and resolve the argument than putting yourself in your partner's shoes. Because often, we would have this. I would come home, and after being out traveling or work or gone for some reason, whatever the reason might be, and I come home and I'm exhausted. I'm done. I've had 30 conversations today on the phone. I've been in disagreements, whatever. We're trying to figure things out, and I'm going through this stuff. And then I come home and I have somebody coming at me. And my first reaction is to lash out. And I don't realize that I haven't put myself in her shoes. What has she been going through all day? You think being home with the kids is easy? And not that she's home with the kids either. We take turns doing working on our businesses. But the fact that I'm not putting myself in her shoes and understanding what she's going through, and I'm just thinking about myself at that moment, is a sure way to never resolve an argument.
Yeah, and rather than coming home and unloading your grump, it's just...
Did you just call me a grump?
Yeah, some little grump, and then that triggers your wife or spouse, and it could be the other way around, or maybe I come out a little grumpy or whatever it is. And he has all this stuff that he dealt with all day. I have the things that I dealt with all day. And it's not really the kids, it's my personal physical pain that I'm going through from illness, and I am healthy, I am strong, I am blessed. I never want to say anything negative, but definitely I do have challenges. So, in our house, the reason I said that, because in our house, we never want to say sick or ill or any of that stuff. We don't want to say that. So sometimes when I catch myself, the enemy cannot read your thoughts. So you could think things, but when you speak them out loud, then fix it really quickly. It's just my way. It's just the thing that we do in our house. If we say something negative, then we fix it right away. I know it's off topic, but I just wanted it to make sense to you guys. This is something that we practice in our home. But as I was saying, so I'm dealing with my things, he's dealing with his things, and someone may come and just in a different tone, and it just triggers us. And I feel like empathy is a powerful tool, and we got to lean into that.
Yeah. Put yourself in their shoes. If you're standing in their shoes, I promise you the whole problem, the whole situation, the whole conversation will look different. And if you can use that along with some of these other things to make sure that you're doing some of this other stuff at the same time, that you'll quickly resolve.
Yeah, always try to understand your partner's perspective and feelings. And this helps foster understanding, compassion, and ultimately strengthen your bond.
That brings us to the last one. Number 5, listen. Listening is so powerful, and it's so often ignored. The problem is like in leadership for you men out there, and then women too, because women are leaders in the house too. They're just not the same leader. They're leading in a different way.
Well, I feel like, look at your family as a family tree. Who's the roots? The father, the husband. He has to be the roots. But of course, as women, we do lead, and outside, if our husband pours into us and coaches us and teaches us, we could be leaders outside of the home for other women, other children, and ultimately we can be leaders in that way. But there is always going to be one leader, the head of the house. We're the crown.
And part of that is you have to listen. Guys, don't think that leading your household means enforcing and dictating your will upon everybody around you. Okay? A big part of that is listening. Listening to make informed decisions. You see so many leaders out there that are dictators, that are throwing their voice around and expecting people to follow them, and people won't follow them.
But they haven't listened, and they don't know how to solve the problem. They're just layering it with fear and, not fear, but just
it can be
commandments,
fear too. Yeah.
Commanding, rather than understanding how to properly solve what's going on. To listen to your partner, and I feel that goes both ways, is one of the biggest and most precious gifts you could give someone every day, and your children, your family.
And on that, I have one more that I just have to throw in there. I know we said 5.
No, but wait, but when you're listening, no,
That makes 7. Now we're out of control.
No, it's not one more. Okay. It's about listening.
You got one more. I got one more. And then you got one more.
It's about listening. Just put away distractions. Put down the devices. Really look your partner in the eye and let them know. Because sometimes we as women, we may not even need a response. And Jordan Peterson talks about that so well. It's just listen. Sometimes you don't even need to respond, but we just need to get things off of our chest.
You probably shouldn't respond many times. It should be, if you let your spouse know that you're listening, and that means not looking down at your phone, not looking away, looking into their eyes and let them know that you're listening. And we've all been guilty of this. Trust me, I've been guilty of it. And I just always, the thing is, we just always got to be better. We always just got to work towards being better.
Right. And this simple act, don't forget, can make us feel very valued, heard, and loved. And that's important for both sides of the fence, I believe.
And the last thing I'd like to say is just, and this is, if you want to make it a number 6, then so be it, accountability. Like, let's,
Yeah,
you got to be
that's
accountable for yourselves. Whether you're, especially you men out there, believe me, again, I'll just throw myself under the bus. I'm guilty of this too. I hate to, everybody hates to admit when they're wrong, but you have to realize if you're doing all these things and you're in the right place and you have God first place in your marriage, it's so much easier to take on accountability. And sometimes you just have to say it out loud. And it's refreshing.
It is refreshing.
When you can say it and get it out of your system, and realize, okay, now I can work on getting better. It's like, I said it. Okay, I said it. I hated saying it and it hurt to say it. And it came out. It hurt. It hurt coming out.
I get it. I remember this was a huge thing in our house, to take accountability. That was one of my mom's golden rules. And it was so important. I mean, she created so many great, strong relationships in business by taking accountability and just holding other people responsible to take accountability. She was very honest with everyone. So I grew up like this. It was hard for me to do in the beginning, but I think because I did all that work when I was a child, and I feel that that's so important for our kids. They're never worried about being wrong or taking accountability. It's really not a big deal. It's just a learning it's a learning experience, really.
Yeah.
And it's a lesson. So never feel bad about taking accountability.
No, I think our kids are going to be really good at it, because we even though a lot of these things we inwardly struggle with, I think we're trying to implement them, and our kids see that, and they see.
Well, they learn from us,
and they're with us all the time, so they see this stuff go down. If we're in a disagreement, it may start off a little shaky, but we're especially today with our kids and everything, we're getting much better at these things.
Well, we put the work in.
Yeah, and you have to put the work in. It's not easy, guys. Trust me, this stuff isn't easy, and you're going to be off kilter here and there, but if you just keep working towards this and always keeping God first place in your marriage, that's my call I have coming up. And you always keep God first place in your marriage, all these things will work themselves out. Remember, never mention divorce. Remind yourself that we're on the same team. Don't raise your voice in a disagreement. Put yourself in their shoes and listen, and always take accountability. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast. I hope if you know anybody who's going through something in their marriage or relationship and they could use something like this, please share this with them.
This is a perfect episode to share with
everybody.
The people that
has something. Everybody has something.
We can all work on ourselves to be better. And thank you so much for tuning in this week. We love you so much. God bless. Have the best week ever.
See you guys next week.
You've been listening to the Pretty and Punk podcast. If you want more, click the subscribe button below. Check out our YouTube channel too. God bless, and as always, we love you. Thanks for listening for the Pretty and Punk podcast. We'll see you next week. God bless.